Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Yankee and Canuck podcast, a show where we discuss TV, film, and more.
And I'm your host, a Yankee.
And I'm your host, Canuck.
And today we're going to be talking about the Acolyte episode 8. Oh god, it's finally over. The whole episode opens with Osha suffocating herself with a helmet on her head and Chimera having to take it off like a responsible parent trying to take off a plastic bag off their child's head. Oh, get out. Come on, stop it. And evidently she can see the end of the episode, so they make their way back to Brendok. On the way out, we cut to apparently Darth Plagueis coming out of the shadows, watching them leave, going, I should have been the actual antagonist this entire time.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back on the ship, Sol decides to go back on Brendok because the plot demands it. Because he wants to prove to the Jedi Council that the Virgins exist, and alerts Venestra, who's back on Coruscant, to his location. There's a lot of other ways to go about this, but we're gonna roll with this.
Yep, back to Brendok we go.
May manages to escape, leading to a cool but pointless space chase leading him to Brendok.
And she's able to escape because of the assistance from Bazil.
Because, reasons and stuff. Alright, before she leaves, Venestra is caught keeping this whole Jedi massacre thing a secret, and nothing's done about it because otherwise it's a really obvious gaping plot hole if it were to suddenly get out. While Sol is looking for May, he gets into another confrontation with a somehow less powerful Chimera. At the same time, May and Osha trauma dump on the audience and do their own fight because, more fights are good, I guess. And I guess because their fight's not that interesting, they both show up to the fight between Sol and Chimera, and an attempt to resolve this really messy mystery plotline, with May basically going to Sol, you need to face justice against the Council! While Osha's like, no, I'm gonna choke this bitch out! While May is just standing there being like, okay, I guess you can do that too. Episode ends with Chimera and Venestra setting up a season 2, which may or may not happen, with May getting her memory wiped, Osha joining Chimera, and Venestra showing up going, hey, look, remember Yoda? Remember the character from the vastly superior other thing that made this whole franchise the way it was in the first place? Well, support us and you can watch us destroy this character too! And with that, this episode is done, the show is done, and I am so f***ing happy it's done. I do not want to see this thing anymore for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad this one's over.
Yeah, so this whole episode was just a big information dump again. There were some interesting things here and there. I did like the fights. I did like the fact it ended. Yeah, I think that's it.
But yeah, overall, there's some things I liked in the episode, some things I disliked, which is pretty much how the show goes. A few things I liked, a lot of things that we disliked. As far as finales go, I would say it's average at best. Maybe that's being generous, but the issue is there's still so many unresolved story angles and arcs, and there's a lot more to tell, more questions than ever now. I don't know if they really thought the majority of fans would like this and get strong ratings and get greenlit for a second season to finish the story, but I don't know. I think they need to reevaluate themselves and their abilities. I hate that they put us in a position where it's like, we need season 2 to answer some of these questions. Like, nobody wants that. Yeah. So, you should truly be done with it.
Well, the thing is, I know what they were trying to do, but in order to properly round off the show, you have to adequately answer a lot of the mysteries, which they sort of did, but in a very sloppy way, while introducing brand new mysteries that intrigue the audience enough where they want to see another season. But they did it in such a haphazard way where it's just like, why did you do that?
If they do season 2, maybe they should fire Leslie Headland, make a spectacle of it. Disney's like, we're getting a brand new writers and showrunners, and of course they're not going to do that. It's Disney, right? So
I don't think you want to do that. You're just going to get the TV show equivalent of The Rise of Skywalker. That's all you're going to do.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny you mentioned that because I was hearing people online saying, this is way worse than Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams. Maybe we should bring them back and stuff like that. I'm like, what?
No, those people are insane. Those people are absolutely insane.
Yeah, that reminds me of, like me and you being critical of the prequels because the OT trilogy's better. People now saying the prequel is really good because the sequels are so bad. So now people are saying Acolyte's so bad, so the sequels are not so bad. I'm like, no, they're all bad. Let's be honest here, man.
That's the correct answer, ladies and gentlemen. It's all f***ing bad.
This show is bad. The sequels were just straight trash. They're playing around and ruining the legacy of the original trilogy with the sequels. For you and I and millions of others, the most important thing about Star Wars is the OT.
Yeah, there were a few things after Disney acquisition of Star Wars that were actually favorable to the fan base. Andor, Mandalorian, Rogue One. But most of the things that they've done since then have been pretty much big misses. First of all, the Osha and May motivations. Okay, for a show that's centered on these particular two characters for us to give a shit about them, you gotta be consistent, man. If we start with a character that's good, and then you want him to be evil, That's fine. You could do that. But give us reasons why she turns evil gradually, and vice versa with May becoming good. And then May having her memory wiped. I mean, sure. I mean, you could do all that stuff, but it's got to make sense. The problem was they did not make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, basically to sum it up, we just don't give a shit about these characters. I mean, they had potential, and it was like, okay, let's see where this goes, but essentially they just fumbled it with the writing and development of the characters.
Yeah, and a lot of the more interesting characters are either relegated to the background or they were just killed off really
Yeah,
quickly.
they did.
They did now, and that's the other thing that was frustrating in the discourse for this whole show was that, like for instance, in Dara, people were like, Carrie Ann Moss's character just dies in the very beginning, but she comes back later, guys. Why are you complaining? Well, here's the problem: when the character's dead, literally nothing they do matters moving forward. It's not suspenseful, it's not dramatic anymore because we know that they're gonna die eventually at a later point in time. So I
That's
mean,
exactly right.
yeah, so the most that they can do is provide context for certain things, but at that point, the story has to be strong enough for those things to matter. And the story was not strong enough for that to matter at all.
Yeah.
Evidently, what you're doing is just being like, Carrie Ann Moss's character, I can't wait to cosplay as her. Totally fine if you want to do that, but other than that, that's all she was good for.
You mentioned the Force Mind Wipe earlier that Chimera uses on May. Well, I've seen the Force Mind Wipe used before in Knights of the Old Republic. I know I mention it all the time. One of my favorite games. And so the Jedi Council on Dantooine actually wiped Revan's memory. Not only wiped his memory, but they planted other memories in his head. It took the whole council on Dantooine to do it, mind you. So Chimera, one person doing it, waving his hand and accomplishing that is a little ridiculous. But the wipe in general is a possibility. So when it's used in a good way, it can have a powerful effect on the story and the writing. This show just doesn't, it's more of an excuse to use it at the end.
There are tiny little things that the show could have done to visually represent what the character is, how powerful they are, and what their standing in the story is. But
True,
that
yeah.
requires careful character building, story building, world building that the writers were completely inept at from the very beginning.
Oh, you're expecting too much from Disney, my friend.
I sure am, unfortunately. But you know what? If you put $180 million into something, I expect a hell of a lot better. And of course, because the show has nothing better to do than just to take established characters and to basically tarnish them, we're introduced to Darth Plagueis and
Oh,
Yoda in this episode. Them appearing is supposed to excite the audience. It's supposed to excite me. Instead, it fills me with dread because I'm just kind of like, okay, so how are they going to up these characters?
yeah, I mean, I had a feeling that either Tenebris or Plagueis would appear in the season, or in the finale at least. It's good to see Plagueis in that sense, but I just wish it was more significant. Why waste him on just a second or two cameo? I don't know if they have plans for him more in season 2, which I suspect they do now, but I think they could have written him more into the season much better. Maybe he shows up earlier in like a hologram communication with Chimera and OSHA's there and like, who's that? He's like, oh, that's no one. That's just my stockbroker. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot they could do with Plagueis because that's a hugely popular novel, and there's a lot of details that they could have gone into, or maybe they do a separate show for just Plagueis, but of course they're going to mess that up and upset more people because that's what they do. Look, at the end of the day, I was happy to see him, but they could have done it so much better. And it leads to more questions. Why is Plagueis allowing Chimera to have an apprentice? Or is Plagueis being sneaky in the cave because Chimera isn't supposed to have one? Or is Plagueis looking for a new apprentice to replace Chimera? We just don't know. There's more questions now, no answers, no time left. Show sucks. The end.
Thing sucks.
Yeah, because the power dynamic is really off. So Chimera is super powerful, but Soul is able to overtake Chimera, but Soul is able to be defeated by Osha, who is really not shown to be all that adept at the Force, except when convenient. Even though it's established that she was created via Virgins, but so was Anakin, and Anakin wasn't powerful right away. He was able to excel at certain things, but that was pretty much it. He needed to be actually trained to be better at the Force.
She was a former Jedi for a little while, and so I guess you can say she can, there's some capabilities there, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the angle they would have to say is the emotions, and using the dark side of the Force, tapping into that. And I don't know. I'm just making excuses here, but Soul just allowing it to happen. I think he's just emotionally defeated, and he's like, all right, that's it. I'm done here.
Yeah, but the thing about the show is that, I can make my own show where a mouse is like a Jedi master and can be able to take out all the Jedi at once when it squeaks.
Yeah.
That's the caliber of writing that we're dealing with here, where you could literally just make things up without any regard to any of the rules that have been established at this point. And that's why people are not really responding to the show really well.
I just, it was just kind of ridiculous after hearing Soul confess again to what happened. And it was obvious May was having Soul repeat the event on purpose so Osha could hear it, right? I mean, they were just together kung fu fighting a moment before. If I was Soul, I'd be like, why are you having me repeat this again? I've already told you what happened on the ship. Wouldn't you think something's up, But,
And speaking of
and
that
then you
too,
have,
speaking of that too, I mean, the whole thing with him killing their mom was straight up an accident. It looked like because Mama Witch shouldn't have turned to a big scary mist ghost in front of him without. And that whole sequence still doesn't make sense to me because she was disintegrating May, and Soul thought like, oh, well, the kid's in imminent danger, kill, and like, oh, she was gonna give me Osha, which is the other one. Oh, you should have maybe told me that before.
could
And
have said it
then
in the first place, yeah.
yeah, so it was a big misunderstanding, but then Osha may be like, "You murdered her." I'm like, yeah, that bitch turned to a big scary ghost. What the was I supposed to do?
Yeah,
So
I mean, I think you can definitely make a case that it was completely justified. I mean,
yeah, I could see what they were doing. They were trying not to make Soul a murderer. They try to make it look like a big misunderstanding. Again, done really poorly.
talking about the Night Coven, so what ultimately happened to Mother Coral, right? Because we never saw her again. I mean, honestly, who cares at this point? She didn't reappear. Why bother now? I mean, if there's a season two,
She probably
yeah,
fainted with the other witches in one of the last episodes.
I guess, yeah. I mean, we didn't see her, so it's a bit strange. But
Maybe
at the
she'll
end of
come
the
back
day,
in
who
season
cares?
2. I can't wait.
There you go. I would put money that she does. I would put money on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where her ass is. I frankly don't care. But yeah, I guess she's still around and stuff. It still doesn't make sense to me how the witches are so powerful that they can conjure up new beings from the Force using avergence, but then
Yeah.
Endara can use her Jedi mind, whatever trick she was using, to kill all the witches or make them all faint at once.
I'm still not sure what happened. I mean, she was just trying to attempt to sever the force connection or thread connection, whatever the hell, that they had on Kilnaka. And so I don't know if that's inadvertently that connection kills them, or I don't know. Maybe they weren't dead. Maybe they were just knocked out. And then the fires and the rubble, and eventually that's what killed them. I don't know.
That's just to demonstrate to the audience, hey, this is what happens when you order the Force on Wish.
Well, you shouldn't have taken control of Kilnaka to murder all the other Jedi. I mean, there's going to be consequences. It keeps escalating over and over.
Get your shit together, witches. That's probably maybe why May is like indecisive because she see her mamas are like indecisive. We're good, but no, we're evil. But we're good, but we're
Yeah.
evil.
I did want to mention Bazil. You had mentioned that cool sequence when Soul's chasing May. That scene was dope, but what was up with Bazil? Like I was saying, why did he sever the power or whatever? So I didn't understand that. Overall, I didn't mind him in the first couple episodes, and even though the scenes were kind of stupid, like the one with May on the ship, but it's a tracker, it's doing tracker things. But in that finale, same thing. He's leading the Jedi, making the stupid faces, but I just don't know why he disabled the ship.
Plot convenience, I guess, because otherwise Soul would have caught up to May and captured her again.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of hindering Soul, so he's not doing his job as a tracker. He's hired by the Jedi, as far as we know, right? But to be a tracker.
Yeah,
So what exactly is he doing? Maybe it's like I said in the previous podcast. This is the start of Darth Bazil, the little.
yeah. I can't wait for him to be under the wing of Darth Jar Jar and Darth Wicket, cute, cuddly, evil Sith lords that are
Yeah,
annoying.
exactly.
That should be the next Disney show they should make. Ultimately, I felt like Chimera was the most compelling character in the entire show. He ended up being a compelling antagonist, even though his star was pretty crappy. The fights were cool. I did like Torben in the penultimate episode. I felt like he had more to deal with in terms of writing, in terms of backstory and motivations and all that stuff. How he went
Yeah.
out was kind of a bitch way to go out, but it is what it is. Scenery was cool, and I liked the introduction of Cortorsis and the lightsaber whip. Those things were cool to introduce in live action. Ultimately, it's a show with a lot of potential, and it just fumbled it a lot.
I mean, just glad the show's over with. There was elements of it, like you said, that were pretty dope. Lightsaber sequences, some of the characters. The show doesn't hold up. They did a pretty poor job, and hopefully there's no season two. I have to admit, if there is a season two, I'm gonna watch it in hopes that it improves, which I doubt it. But
Yeah, I'll have
maybe
no
there'll be
choice but to watch it either. So
yeah, maybe there'll be some Plagueis scenes that are done well. I don't know. I will watch it, but
I doubt,
hopefully they
doubt,
take a different direction. Yeah,
doubt,
I mean,
doubt, doubt, doubt. I rate the entire first season of The Acolyte probably a 3.5 out of 10.
there you go. I'm actually going to give it a 4.5 out of 10.
Oh, you're more
And
generous than I am.
I am. I think the few things they did well, I thought there was a few things that were done pretty well, even though majority was a blunder, riddled with problems and writing issues. But I think, I mean, a 4.5 is a failing score, and that's what this show is, a failure.
Yeah, I give it a lower failing score because the things I just mentioned, cool fights, cool introductions of lore into this thing, some interesting ideas in terms of how the characters could have gone, but that's why I rate it so low because ultimately it's just a bunch of good ideas, very poor execution, very badly handled. This needed to be a page one rewrite from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But they went with it anyway and they spent a lot of money on it. I am wondering where a lot of that money actually went at the end of the day because this does not look like something that almost took $200 million to make.
It's wild to think about.
Yeah, it's
Where's the
wasteful.
money at?
Yeah, where's the
Yeah.
money? Show me the money! It's corporate waste. That's what the show is. All right, guys. That will be it for The Acolyte. I hope they don't renew this for season 2. If they do, you'll be seeing us again.
Thanks a lot for tuning in for this mess for the whole season. Appreciate it.
May the thread be threaded within you.
Hell no, I'm out.